This video is brought to you by WeGotSoccer.com, offering all the latest soccer gear at everyday low prices. Don't forget to use coupon code SR4U at checkout for 10% off any order. Hey guys, Josh from SoccerReviewsForYou.com, bringing you a retro unboxing plus on-feet video of the Nike T90 Laser 1s. Now, if you guys enjoyed the retro unboxing videos on my channel, be sure to support this video with a like. It takes a lot of time and effort to hunt down some of these older models that are pretty hard to come by. So if you want to continue seeing the retro unboxing series, be sure to leave a like down below. Now, as far as extras that you're going to find inside of the box, you get two. The first extra being this little brochure here. You get your T90 logo there on the front. And on the inside, you're going to find all the technical specifications of the shoe itself, which we'll go over in just a second. The other extra that you're going to get is, of course, a string bag. The front of the string bag is made out of a nylon material, features a black on black Total 90 logo with your sport red Nike swoosh there at the bottom. And the back of the bag, instead of being nylon, is actually a mesh material. So we'll get that out of the way, get the shoes out of the box, get this box out of the way, and give you guys a good look at these amazing soccer shoes. This is one of my personal favorite shoes of all time, not only in terms of how they look, but also in how they perform. Now, this shoe released back in 2007, and I was one of those lucky kids that was able to get a pair right at launch. I wish I still had them. To this day, I don't have them anymore. They were actually my size, still size 9 US, and I was lucky enough to come across a pair on eBay for a great price, brand new condition, my size, in my favorite colorway, which is, of course, the launch Zest Yellow. So overall, I'm just really happy to finally have a pair again in brand new condition. I really want to wear them, but at the same time, I don't, just because they are such good looking shoes. Now, as far as the significance of the Total 90 Laser 1, it was the first Total 90 Laser. So the Total 90 series has been around since the year 2000, and in 2007, Nike introduced the Total 90 Laser. This was the Laser 1, and then of course it followed up with the Total 90 Laser 2, 3, and 4. And after the 4, obviously it's changing to the Hypervenom, and the Total 90 series will be no more, which is kind of a shame. I made a video on it. If you want to check it out, I'll leave an annotation on screen. But for the most part, this is a shoe that really kind of changed the way that Nike approaches their soccer shoes, as well as other companies, mainly due to the striking element itself. The Total 90 Laser was really the first shoe from Nike to introduce a rubber striking element. It was really designed to compete with the Adidas Predator series, which is obviously one of the most iconic series of soccer shoes of all time. That they have been using rubber striking elements on their shoes for a very long time. And basically what Nike did is they incorporated rubber into their striking element, but in a way that was completely different from what Adidas is doing, and I think really changed the way that not only Nike, but also other companies really looked at their design of their striking elements. Rubber was viewed as somewhat of a bulky thing, whereas what kind of Nike accomplished here is they've created something that is very low profile, it flows with the rest of the shoe, and it's very self-explanatory. If you didn't know much about soccer shoes, you could look at the Total 90 Laser 1 and kind of almost explain what this kind of target looking thing is for on the foot. That's the sweet spot, and that's where you want to hit the ball, and it's just that simple, and it actually performed really well. Now, as far as the upper goes on this particular shoe, the Total 90 Laser 1 was available with two different upper variations, synthetic as well as kangaroo leather. The yellow colorway that I have here is in synthetic. It's the only upper variation available in this colorway, and it's actually made from a Tahitian synthetic material, exactly the same as what you're going to find on the Mercurial series, but not exactly the same in terms of thickness and feel. It definitely has a more padded feel about it. You can see the thickness a little bit there on the side. And it actually has a really nice texturing on the outside, which gives the shoe a very high quality feel. Now, obviously, the highlight of the boot itself is going to be that striking element, as well as the whole lacing system, which is somewhat unusual. You can see the laces run along the side of the upper itself, and then, of course, you do have your central lacing at the top two lace holes. And overall, it just works really well. You have basically no adjustment here on the outside of the shoe at all, only the top two lace holes, and it basically wraps over the top of your foot and kind of finishes on the outside of the boot. Fits really well, wraps your foot nicely, and this is something that can be really tricky when you don't have a physical tongue, but Nike definitely did it right with the Total 90 Laser 1, which you'll see later in the on-feet portion of the video. Now, as far as the striking element itself goes, it's actually pretty complex in its design, in that it is made up of several layers. Now, the bottom layer here, or the mesh layer, as you can see, there's a little idea as to how thick it is all the way through, is actually called E-vent technology, and it's basically not a completely open mesh, but it is ventilated and allows for some nice airflow through the soccer shoe, which is somewhat unusual. Just to give you guys an idea of how this actually does look and the kind of the construction of the striking element itself. Here's a look at that brochure again. You can see that you do have your underlay of that E-vent, and then of course you do have your striking element that sits on top. Obviously I think they stitched it on this particular shoe, or it might even be glued on, but that is basically the two parts of the striking element itself. So I'll get that out of the way, and basically you can see the rubber striking element features quite a few different things. You do have kind of this little chain looking pattern on the bottom made up of like these little diamonds, and that's just there to provide pretty much uniform grip across the entire upper. When you are striking the ball, you do have your zonal rings, your T90 logo there in the middle. Around this first ring, you can see it says power, swerve, and precision, which is kind of cool. And then, of course, you have these little fins there that act as swerve fins. And what's cool about these, and something that a lot of people don't really know or don't see unless they've seen the shoe in person, is that there's actually different finishes on the fins themselves. You can see they curve a little bit. They're not completely flat. One surface of the fins are kind of like a shiny material, a little bit more kind of grippy on the ball, whereas other areas of the fins are actually a matte finish. So they're there more or less just to provide a more solid impact and not so much about grip. And overall they performed really, really well. The fins were actually very durable, and the shoe itself was just really well constructed and made for not only a great feel when striking the ball, but also some pretty good protection across the top of the foot. Although I believe Rooney broke his foot in the Total 90 Laser 1. I think he did. I'm not sure if he was wearing this one or the Laser 2, but nonetheless, it was overall a pretty protective boot, with all things kind of considered. Now, as far as the external heel counter here, it is made out of a plastic material. You got your Total 90 logo there on the back, with your kind of little window here. It says Nike Zoom. There's no zoom here on the heel. It's just kind of a logo there to let you know that it is on the inside. Kind of an unusual stitching pattern here on the outside. One more Nike swoosh here on the instep. The heel liner is made from a synthetic leather material. There's plenty of padding. And what I personally really like are these little kind of pads here on the sides of the ankles. They're kind of like what you're going to find on the Vapor 4s and those little foam pads, but it's actually a much softer material, and it is lined in a synthetic leather, so it feels very, very comfortable. Not like the Vapor 4s that provided some really nice blisters for you. This is actually very comfortable and did a good job of locking your heel in place. Definitely a unique element that we only saw on the Laser 4. And then, of course, the shoe itself does feature Nike Zoom Air. This is the last T90 model to feature Zoom Air technology. It's that little white bag there at the bottom of the shoe. And if you don't know too much about Zoom Air, basically it is a little bag that provides some really nice, it's very thin, and it provides a very responsive cushion. So it's heel cushioning in the shoe itself, which is something that you don't see all that often in a soccer shoe. Like I said, it was the last shoe from Nike, I believe, to feature Zoom Air technology. I think maybe the Legend 1 and 2 also features Zoom Air, as well as past models of the T90. But overall, it was a really nice implementation of Zoom Air. Doesn't add too much in bulk, doesn't add any weight, and overall just provides a more comfortable feel. For those of you guys that don't know what Zoom Air is, this is a LeBron 10. It's a modern basketball shoe. And this bag here at the bottom of the shoe itself, this kind of clear see-through area, is actually a very large Zoom Air bag. So if you can kind of imagine this in a much more scaled down version, that's what you actually have on the inside of this shoe. Now, as far as the insole itself goes, here is a look at it. You can see it's a yellow insole. You got the Nike Zoom logo right there, and you have a pattern that kind of flows with the design on the striking element itself, which I thought was pretty cool. Pretty much a standard EVA foam insole. There's a little bit of a cutout there at the heel for the Zoom unit, and you can see that you do have a little bit of extra foam, perforated of course, through the forefoot area of the shoe. Overall, a pretty decent insole, not too bulky at all, and just provided some really nice step in comfort. Now, as far as the sole plate itself goes, it is made from a TPU plastic material, nothing too unusual there, and it's the last Total 90 to feature this particular stud pattern, which is one that I'm personally a really big fan of. You will find even a lot of professionals to this day using this particular stud pattern, mainly because it does perform really, really well. You got your 4 conical studs on both sides of the forefoot with kind of a little bar in between, so it does have that bladed effect as well, along with the conical feel of the studs themselves. You got your 2 support studs in the middle that are, of course, blades, and of course your 4 heel studs in the back that are bladed as well. You got a little bit of a stiffener bar here in the sole plate itself, along with these 2 little bars that raise off the sole plate that provide some extra stiffness as well. And what's really cool is that you do have the skeleton foot here at the bottom. Has nothing to do with performance, but definitely gives the shoe a really, really unique look. You can see it is a little bit older, so the kind of clear sole plate or clear plastic has started to fog up a little bit, which is a little bit of a shame, but it still looks really, really good. Like I said, these are brand new condition, pretty hard to come by nowadays. But that's pretty much it as far as the unboxing portion of this video goes. And move on to a quick weigh-in so you can get a better idea as to how light these shoes are. The Laser 1 is a really solidly built shoe, and for that reason it's not necessarily all that lightweight. In hand, they feel a little bit heavier than you might expect from a shoe like this. It doesn't appear to be a very heavy shoe, and it isn't heavy, it just isn't as light as you might expect. So I'm going to weigh this pair for you today in real time. Keep in mind that this is a brand new pair in a size 9 US. We're going to throw it on the scale, and you can see that they weigh in at 10.7 ounces, so a little bit above average by today's standards, but is definitely something that is still wearable, even in comparison to most modern soccer shoes. So that's pretty much it as far as the weigh-in portion of this video goes. And I move on to a quick on feet so you can get a better idea as to how these shoes fit. Alright, here's a look at the Total 90 Laser 1s on feet. And you can definitely see that they have a very unique look about them, especially in this bright yellow colorway. They really stood out back then, and they still stand out even today. And overall, just really good looking shoes in my opinion. As far as the overall feel of the shoe goes, I wore a size 9 back in 2007. I was under the impression that my foot really hasn't grown all that much since then. But these definitely feel a little bit tighter in a size 9 US. I think ideally if I was going to wear these, they'd have to be a 9.5. These do feel pretty tight. They're not quite all that wide, especially to the forefoot area, which is not really too much of a surprise to me considering this is a synthetic shoe. Again, they've been sitting around for 6 years, so that may play into some of the stiffness of the shoe itself. But overall, I really like how they fit. They feel really nice, and definitely a comfortable shoe, especially after a couple hours of break-in time. So that's pretty much it as far as the on-feet portion of this video goes, and I'll leave you to my final thoughts. Alright guys, that's it for my retro unboxing plus on-feet video of the Nike T90 Laser 1. Like I mentioned earlier, this is one of my favorite shoes of all time, and if Nike ever got in the business of retroing and re-releasing some of their older soccer shoes, this would definitely be #1 on my list. Now if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below, and if you enjoyed the video, be sure to support it with a like. You can find some high quality images of this exact pair here on the review page of my website, linked down below in the description. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest soccer gear. You can find all of my social media links down below in the description as well. And other than that guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and as always, thanks for watching.